Welcome to Business Mentorship Keeping It Real, where we introduce corporate leaders who have taken the leap to business owner and participate with their great idea in our guest blog found on shareyourstories.online. Our guest joins us from Burlington, Ontario. Robbie Spier Miller is an award-winning human performance expert, hypnotist, NLP coach, and the founder of Hypnosis Training Canada. Let's find out how hypnosis teaches people to excel in personal mastery, including leadership, communication, and sales. It is my pleasure to introduce and welcome Robbie.
Great to be here, Trish. Thanks for inviting me.
You know, I'm so thrilled that you're able to join us because I thought perhaps we could start our conversation with you giving a true definition to our viewing and listening audience as to what hypnosis really is and how it can help us.
So hypnosis is a way that we can communicate with our subconscious minds, and we all go in and out of hypnosis naturally throughout our everyday life. So examples are, if you watch a movie and you laugh when it's funny or you cry when it's sad, you're responding to emotional suggestion. And that's a hypnosis-like state. Or you're driving and you find yourself sitting in your driveway at home and you don't remember what you did for the last 8 blocks and somehow you made it there. So those are examples of where our subconscious mind is at play. And we naturally go in and out of this all the time. It's really as natural as breathing. So when we learn how to use it to help ourselves, we're acknowledging that it is happening all the time, and we're learning how to use it skillfully to help ourselves get more of what we want in life. Because the reality is that if we don't choose our hypnotic trances, then they choose us. They choose us based on how we grew up, based on the ways we chose to cope or the routines we've done over and over. And so a lot of people come to a hypnotist to get unhypnotized, to break out of hypnotic trances that are in the way or sabotaging them, or just not allowing them to be as successful as they can be.
So it's really taking control of that sort of subconscious and making a transition between the subconscious and the conscious. Is that correct?
So the subconscious mind really determines most of what we do day to day. We all like to believe that our conscious mind is in control, and that's a teeny weeny bit true. But most of our decisions and behaviors come from our subconscious and our emotions. And so we're learning how to have choices with that.
And obviously choices that lead us down a path to success, whatever that may be, personally or professionally, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So how did you get into this work, Robbie? Because I mean, we see things online, we're all involved in the scroll on social media posts, and we see all kinds of people who have these really awesome business ideas. Mm-hmm. But how did you actually get involved in this work?
I first started learning hypnosis to help myself, and I discovered it because I grew up with, my parents are medical doctors, and I grew up in a very academic type family and are surrounded in a culture by people who really focused on like the professions, right? Doctors, lawyers, accountants, teachers. And so this was really out there from that world. Your guidance counselor doesn't say, I think you should be a hypnotist. So very different from how I grew up. But when I started dating my husband, we're talking like well over 20 years ago, because we've been married 21 years, so almost 25 years ago. At the time I was working in IT consulting, and I found the environment very stressful. It's a very high pressure world with unrealistic deadlines and politics and constantly needing to compete and prove yourself. And so that was really challenging for me. I was experiencing a lot of stress, and I knew I could be more confident than I was. And so he said, hey, maybe we should take some hypnosis classes, because he thought it would help me. He had been learning hypnosis since he was a teenager, and he discovered it because his family, they had a lot of family friends who worked in the travel industry, like high-end travel and tourism. And a lot of them were taking these classes for people and communication skills because they had to be on their game. And it is wonderful for learning that. So he was learning this since he was a teenager, and he thought it would help me. So we actually started taking classes together. And it did help me. It helped me with those things. It helped me as well. It helped us with our relationship. It gave us a common way to look at growing and changing and understanding other people and communication. We have 2 children now who are, older teenagers, it's definitely helped us raise them in subtle ways. And so it's really impacted every part of my life. And a number of years after I started learning it, I decided I wanted to do it professionally. At first it was really just for me. So eventually I did open a business. When I first was considering it, the reason I didn't and I stayed in IT was that I wasn't sure how to make this work as a business.
Right.
And so I knew how it could help people because it had helped me, and I wanted to help people that way. I'd actually also trained as a professional coach. And I found that program, it was a wonderful program. I didn't feel it took me as far as you can with hypnosis, simply because with hypnosis, we are communicating directly with the subconscious. So it's a more powerful way to help people change. But every training I'd taken so far didn't really help you learn how to build a business. So I started to seek out programs and I found programs that helped you build a business doing this. And that's really how I started my business. So I started doing this full time about 18 years ago. And it's wonderful. I feel very fortunate to do this as my career.
Sure.
And so it's really great to be able to help people all the time discover more than they thought they could do, right?
Sure.
And change their lives in wonderful ways.
Now, I love the way that you made the transition between a corporate leadership role into self-employment by seeking out ways in which we could learn more about business, because it's so true. Some of the things that we love have nothing to do with creating a business.
That's right.
So if you were to share with our viewing and listening audience, perhaps one tip for, going back all of those 18 years that you can say, if you consider this, if you maybe follow this, this will give you an indication as to how to take your great idea into a business. Because I think sometimes we get so caught up in the details or in the process that we don't know where to start.
Yeah. A very important thing is to seek out business mentors who can help you and people who are willing to be honest with you. And help you get a big picture view, because when people have an idea, they're often very attached to it and very passionate about it. It may not be a good business idea. Not everything can work as a business.
That's so true.
Yeah, sometimes when we're mentoring people or coaching people, you don't want to squash the dream. And so people will kind of help them within that idea without helping them really be willing to stand back and see the big picture. And I'm all for taking risks and doing things that most people don't do, clearly, because that's what I do. And when I started doing this, people would say to me things like, really, people will pay you for that? But yes, actually they do. And I make a really excellent income and I help other people do that as well.
Sure.
But not every business idea may be able to do that, or there might be a way to implement it that will work and other ways that won't. So often people, when they have a business idea, they're very attached to it and they want to express themselves through the business. And your business needs to be about serving people, because that's what they'll pay for, that's what they need. And so it's very important for business owners to honor that aspect of business.
Sure.
and really mature into that, because I totally get wanting to express yourself, but sometimes we need to do that with hobbies or other interests, or we can find an aspect of what we do where we can be free to do that. But if you really want to run a business that actually succeeds, you have to be serving people. You have to be filling a need that's actually there.
Solve a problem, right?
Solve a problem and be able to do it in a way that people are willing to pay for. Right? And where they value the results. So that would be the first thing, to find somebody to mentor you through that, to build it up very organically, step by step, have enough proof of concept. A lot of people have a big dream and they don't have, and then they're where they are now, and then they get overwhelmed because they don't know the steps to get from here to there.
Yeah.
So it's really wise to be having experiences in real life that show you what works and what doesn't along the way, so you're not taking huge risks without evidence that it's working.
You know, I love your reference to a mentor who will connect your great idea with a business concept or proof of concept, because you're absolutely right. Sometimes we're so excited about the great idea that it's not translatable into an actual business where people are going to pay for your product or service. So I love the connection that you made between mentorship and having someone who's going to be really honest with you to say, this is a really great idea. How about looking at it from this angle, which will then take you to the business side of the business, right?
Exactly.
So have you ever found throughout your career, I mean, you've been in business for 18 years. I'm sure that your business model has somewhat changed over that time frame, because you've now started the Hypnosis Training Canada, which is probably not how you started your original first concept, right?
Well, it's kind of an extension of what I do. So I first started seeing one-on-one clients. Originally, it was purely to help people stop smoking with hypnosis. And a year later, I expanded out to other things like weight loss, stress management, confidence, sports performance, pain management. And so for I think about 6 years, I was just doing one-on-one. And then I started the school so I've been doing the training for about 12 years. And it was a natural progression, because as you get the one-on-one experience and then you start to teach groups of people and you start teaching people how to do this, your skill comes from that experience. So I would say that every step I've taken in my business has been built on the foundation of the previous steps. And so it makes it easier.
Yeah, I love that. You know, I always say follow the breadcrumbs, right? Because like the first little step that we take, I mean, sometimes our customers will push us into a new direction because they're looking for a new product or service that they can't find. Other times it just may be our own growth and development that we see new opportunities. And so we say, okay, I've been doing this really successfully. How about now if I just change the business model or tweak it a bit and service a wider target market, right?
That's right. That's right. And you need to look for what are people needing, right? So if you have your eyes out for that and you know what your strengths are, your passions are, you're looking for a fit with that. And you also have to be willing to grow in various ways. So when I started my business as a hypnotist, I knew I wanted to make it work. I was very determined to make it work. And so I was willing to do things that normally wouldn't have been something I would choose to do personally, right? I had certain things that fell in the category of what I do or what I believe, and things that didn't. And I was willing to go beyond that and have experiences, stretch things in directions that I might not have before. And what it did was it made me discover what it really means to be a business owner, what really works. Because if I had just been too attached to my way of doing things, it would have been much more limited. I wouldn't have had as much success.
So can you give us an example of one of those things where it was really stretching your skills and experience, and you really had to either look for outside individuals to help you to learn that new skill or give you an opportunity to hone a new skill?
Yeah. Well, when I first started my business, I was home with a baby. So I had my first child. He was about almost a year and a half when I started my business. And he was home I was home with him full time, and he was a very needy baby. And I didn't sleep for the first 2 years of his life. He woke me up every 2 hours. So I was not, my mind was not working very well. But I knew I wanted to do this. So I'd have a babysitter come in for a couple hours here and there. I was lucky if she showed up, because half the time she canceled. But when she did, I was very specific about the actions I was going to take. One of which was I made some brochures, and I went out and I would go out and talk to people about what I did. And at the time I was just helping people stop smoking with hypnosis. So I had these brochures, and I'd go find people in the community to talk to about it. And that is how I got my first clients. That was not a natural thing for me to do. Sure. I was shy. I'd been home with a baby for a year and a half. Coming from the medical world, that's not the kind of thing you do. I mean, medical doctors, people come to them because they need the help and the government pays. So it's not the kind of thing where you need to promote yourself. right? So there can be some kind of snobbiness around having to do something like that.
Sure.
But I did it, and I quickly learned that I could do it, and became more confident and better at it. And it was through the doing that I improved. And in my experience, a lot of people avoid doing these types of things because it's uncomfortable, or they're shy, or they're worried about bothering people, or whatever. But if they don't actually take action and do it, they'll never get the experience to get better at it. So I think that one characteristic of successful business people is they're willing to just go and have experiences and take risks and stretch themselves and learn, and that they realize the sky doesn't fall. It's not all going to go great, but the sky doesn't fall.
Yeah, it's the action steps, right? You have to take baby steps of action in order to watch your business germinate and grow into something that you feel is long-term, has long-term sustainability.
That's right. Yeah. And so a mistake a lot of business owners make is they pick and choose what they're willing to do or not do, or how they're going to do it. And because of that, they really limit what happens, and they'll put a lot of focus on the things they feel comfortable with or they're already good at. And they will really have like blindness and amnesia for the things that they're not comfortable with or they're not good at, or maybe don't quite fit their current values. So at the time, me going out and talking to people about what I did not quite fit my current values, but it had to happen.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. So you sound to me like you're a planner. I mean, obviously you had a long-term vision and you've been working towards that long-term vision. And clearly it's not going to stop here. I mean, you'll clearly be celebrating your 20th anniversary. It's just around the corner. So what's in the future for Robbie? What do you see as sort of the next step for you?
I've been doing a lot of things to reach more people about what we do, whether it's business or personal growth. So we're offering a lot of mini trainings and workshops on things like public speaking and either getting over fears of public speaking or becoming a more charismatic speaker. Those are hypnotic skills. Often people don't look at it that way. Or people understanding how to do advertising and marketing better. That's all hypnotic, right? All advertising is hypnosis. And so there's so many different directions. So there are many initiatives I'm taking just to help people learn more about what's possible for them with this. I know that these days neuroscience is coming out with a lot of scientific data proving what we as hypnotists have known forever, and so they're showing real evidence about how our minds actually work, and the role of the subconscious and how we actually behave in the world. And so, when you learn hypnosis, it's the fastest, easiest way to take advantage of that. And so it's really a natural resource that we're not using. And all the medical associations, like British Medical Association, the American Medical Association, even the Canadian Medical Association has acknowledged that hypnosis should be taught in medical school. It's not like it's a woo-woo thing. This has been scientifically shown that it helps people in all kinds of ways. So my first book that's coming out within the next few weeks is going to be called 50 Fun and Intriguing Facts About Hypnosis. And some of the things in that book are going to show people how this really has been documented as a very natural and scientifically proven phenomena that we can use to help ourselves. So, my outcome with that book is to help people understand more about what this can do for them.
Sure. Make the connection, right? Make the connection between the unfamiliar to the familiar. So I love the idea that you're coming out with sort of the 50 facts or 50 things that we can all relate to. And then put the practical application into our own life. So, well, you'll have to keep us posted on how that book goes. So congratulations for that, because that I really agree with you. I think that folks will then overcome their inhibitions if they understand something a little better. So I think that that's really a wonderful way to expand your target market and appeal to a wider audience. Now, one of the things that we do in the guest blog is we ask folks to share 3 words of advice. And I think I'd like to ask you to wrap up our conversation today by explaining to our viewing and listening audience why decide, do, and discover is important to you.
Well, I would say that those 3 words sum up the structure of what we do, because we do need to decide on a direction. If we don't decide, then we're in debate and we're watering things down and we're not actually focused. So it's kind of like there are leaks to our energy or resources when we're debating. So it's much more valuable to make a decision and follow through. And the word hypnosis actually is a misnomer because hypnos means sleep in Greek. And so the person, Dr. James Braid, is the person who coined the term. He wanted to rename it to monoideism, or a single idea, or a decision, right? So we want to make a decision, like, where are we going? Like if you were driving your car somewhere, you need to tell your GPS where the destination was. Otherwise, you'd just be taking a, meandering country drive. So you do have to know where you're going. So that's decide. Then the next step is do. So you do have to take action and do something in the real world. If you don't do that, then you won't know what to do next. So some people make the mistake of staying in their head and wanting to know all the information ahead of time, or having a very clear plan ahead of time. The problem with that is that usually that plan isn't realistic. So we want to be starting to do as soon as possible. And then the discover piece is that when we do, then we discover what works, what doesn't work, what we need to learn, how we need to proceed, so that we can make things better and better over time. And a lot of people associate a lot of shame with making a mistake or needing feedback or things not going well. And that's true whether they are struggling in life or they're super successful. There's some super successful people who are take a lot of pride in that. They see themselves as the winners. And so they'll stay away from anything that implies feedback, because they want to uphold that view of themselves. But the reality is that if we're all doing our best, we need to be learning and having experiences in real life all the time. So I train my students, and a big theme that people come for help with is learning how to emotionally make friends with this process, so that people can be open to doing that as quick and easy and with enough of a sense of humor as possible, so that it can be fun.
Well, I absolutely love your 3Ds, because I also have 3Ds that I live by then, and you've mentioned them throughout our course of conversation, but I absolutely love decide, to do, and discover. So that's a really wonderful way for us to leave some really poignant words with our viewing and listening audience. You've given us some really practical things to think about, Robbie, and I really appreciate the time and energy that you've put into not only helping your own community, but the community at large, and really giving back. So thank you so much for joining me. It really was a pleasure speaking with you today.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. And I love the mission you're on with Share Your Stories and the business mentorship that you're providing to people. So, thanks for doing what you do.
Thank you so much. And to our viewing and listening audience, I'd like to thank you for joining us today for this edition of Keeping It Real, introducing you to the person behind the logo. If you'd like to connect with our guest, you'll find Robbie's contact information in the description portion below. I'm Trish Tonai, author, artist, and the founder and host for the series. And if you're interested in sharing your business story, visit our website at shareyourstories.online and subscribe to our channel, Business Mentorship, Keeping It Real. Thanks again for tuning in, and we look forward to meeting you next time when we share another great idea.